being so precious. Allowing the witness to finish a sentence, I do not think would take too much time.
All right, so David Johnston steps down. What does it mean from here? What the heck's going on? Who knows? But this is what happened previously. Some of the points.
And direct, Mr. Johnston. Were you telling Canadians the truth on May the 23rd or back in 2016?
Madam Chair, telling the truth with connection with my relationship with Prime Minister Trudeau goes back to when our children were teenagers, and during the course of almost 40 years, we had no meetings, no dinners at one another's homes, no particular contact. Was a friend of the father, etc., but those were the extent of the contacts.
So he said, all right, I'm going to stay. He did some CBC reporting. Basically, I'm going to see it through. He is going to stay for another month. He's going to finish his report, he said, so he's going to do some more additions to it seems. Here's some questions that came from the NDP side. We got his letter coming up and everything. Check this part out.
Now, Mr. Johnston, what we have before this committee are two completely different descriptions of your relationship with Justin Trudeau. Those two different descriptions cannot be accurate at the same time. So my question is simple and direct, Mr. Johnston. Were you telling Canadians the truth on May the 23rd or back in 2016?
Complaint, but there's 11 candidates, and you've said in your report that they were victims of a certain form of interference in the election. These were candidates for the election, but you're saying, as there's no complaint, I'm not going to meet with the Commissioner of the Elections, the Director of Elections, and the Chief Election Officer. Is that correct?
Well, Madam Chair, we expect that we will meet with those two officials in subsequent review. What I was saying is that our understanding there were no complaints directed to them that required action with regard to the 2019 and 2021 election.
I'm really aghast at what I have heard.
Time that we're talking.
All right, David Johnston. Why does it keep on going to the red when I have it like limited? I don't really know. There we go. A little bit better that way. Let's see if this works. David Johnston's tasked by the Prime Minister. Hey, Google, turn off music. Justin Trudeau back in March with looking into allegations that China tried to meddle in the past two federal elections. This is from the CBC. Say who wrote it in a second. Says he has decided to step down from that role. All right, so you know David Johnston is stepping down. So this carries on. In a resignation letter sent to Trudeau, Johnston, which I'm going to have in a second, his role has become too muddled and political controversy for him to continue. When I undertook the task of Independent Special Rapporteur on foreign interference, well, I won't put it as quotes. I'm going to read it. The government source said that Johnston made his own decision to resign and wasn't asked, to step down by the Prime Minister's office. So they're saying it's totally independent. Since his appointment, Johnston has been accused of being unfit for the job. What did Pierre Poliver say? Ski Buddy Foundation. The money, the cost, which is conservative concerns.
Knowing that they are already targeted, knowing that they're already at the risk of personally being targeted or their families being targeted, how would someone from a diaspora community have any sort of confidence to attend a public hearing, given the threats to themselves, to their community, and potential backlash and repercussions to their family? And how would they have the confidence that they could show up to a public hearing? How would that process work for them? And are there any steps being taken to protect their security and their concerns that they have?
Thank you for those questions, which are really vital, important, and require very thoughtful attention. You're quite right. The diaspora communities have been beset with interference, with disturbance of their tranquility, with their own safety and their well-being in ways that are just unconscionable. And it behooves all of us to see this as a very serious threat in our community where pluralism and respect for one's cultural heritage are very important values to us. And it has been neglected far too long. I look at Mr. Chong over here, who's chair of the Canada Relations Committee, for example, reams and reams of testimony from diaspora communities about this particular matter, and we have not done the kind of things that we should do. And we must do, because it is real, it is damaging, and it is simply unacceptable for Canadians.
It's unacceptable. So that's let's read his letter here. So the Office of the Independent Special Rapporteur, Bureau de Rapporteur Spécial Indépendant, pardon my... Okay, the Right Honourable he sent this to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, PCMP, Prime Minister of Canada, Office of Prime Minister 80. And dear Prime Minister, when I undertook the task of Special Rapporteur on foreign interference, my objective was to build trust in our democratic institutions. I have concluded that, given the highly partisan atmosphere around my appointment and work, my leadership has had the opposite effect. I have therefore tendering my resignation effective no later than the end of June 2023, or as soon as possible as I deliver a brief and final report, which I hope to be earlier. Okay, so he's going to do a brief and final report quicker than a month. Let's get snappy. He's gonna get snappy and do his report. Another one, a full, I guess, added the addition of the final, like, the last minute interviews he did with like Aaron O'Toole. Maybe add a little bit more. Carry on with his letter. A deep and comprehensive review of foreign interference, its effects, and how to prevent it should be an urgent priority for your government and our parliament. Although I concluded that a public inquiry under the Inquiries Act would not be a useful way to deal with what is almost exclusively classified information, I recommend public hearings both to educate the public and to consider necessary reforms to various aspects of the government systems and policies dealing with foreign interference. The concluding pages of my first report identified numerous areas in need of study, analysis, and reform, including, although not limited to, the effects of foreign interference on diaspora communities, legal and regulatory reforms necessary, and a comprehensive review of the way in which intelligence is communicated and processed from security agencies through to and within the government. I encourage you to appoint a respected person with national security experience to complete the work that I recommended in my first report. Ideally, you would consult with opposition parties to identify the suitable candidates to lead this effort. My legal team and I will be happy to assist you in any way we can. Yours faithfully, the Right Honourable David Johnston, Canada. So there it is, folks. So he is saying, hey, work with his recommendation is work with the opposition parties to consult with opposition parties to identify suitable candidates to lead this effort. Find a respected person with national security experience. So I heard, not sure, so someone lady, she said that pundit, a judge, but even a judge in security, but even better, an appeal judge, because then they're in the back end of things, so appeals judge would be recommended for this. And there's a few. She even mentioned there's a few. There's someone who's like dips in the legal department. What do you think? Leave your comments down below. Like, subscribe, and have a fantastic weekend.